Howdy, folks. The Bible records a number of ancient civilizations. Perhaps the most famous of them is ancient Rome. By the time of the New Testament, Rome was the major world power. It was in control of the Holy Land during the entire earthly life of Jesus Christ and during the lives of his immediate followers. Jesus was born during the reign of the Roman Emperor Augustus. He was crucified during the reign of the Roman Emperor Tiberius. The book of Acts records the Emperor Claudius by name, and St. Peter and St. Paul were martyred at Rome by the Emperor Nero. It's clear that the Romans were extraordinarily important to the world in which the New Testament was written. That makes it worth asking the question, who were the Romans, and how did their civilization begin? The answer is a bit obscure. It's shrouded in the mists of time, and ancient legends get in the way of an exact knowledge of the facts. According to the Romans' own account, the city of Rome was founded in the wake of the famous Trojan War. Specifically, it was founded on April 21st in 753 BC by two twins named Romulus and Remus. These two twins were supposedly the grandsons of an earlier king named Numitor, but they were raised by a she-wolf, so they were feral children. When they founded the city of Rome, they had a quarrel, and Romulus killed Remus. Romulus thus became the sole and original king of Rome. This led to a period known as the Roman Kingdom, in which Rome was ruled by a series of kings. This period is supposed to have lasted from the founding in 753 until around 509 BC. It's characterized by the fact that, just like other places, Rome was ruled by kings. Allegedly, there were 7 kings who reigned during this period, beginning with Romulus and ending with Tarquinius Superbus, or Tarquin the Proud. Eventually, the people of Rome were fed up with their kings and overthrew them, leading to a new period in the history of Rome, the Roman Republic. The word republic comes from the Latin res publica, which means public thing. The idea was that now the government of the state was a thing for the public, and not just a private matter for kings. To replace the kings, power was divided between 2 men, known as consuls. They were elected for a 1-year term, and they had significant checks on their power, including term limits. The Roman Republic lasted from the overthrow of the kings around 509 until just before the time of Christ in the 1st century BC. The reason the Republic changed was that the Romans found their system of divided government, with powers split up among the consuls and other government officials, was at times unwieldy. As a result, in times of crisis, they sometimes appointed dictators, men who could run the state as single individuals, but only for a limited period of time that was prescribed by law, to keep the dictator from becoming a tyrant. Eventually, this system broke down when one particular dictator, Julius Caesar, engineered a situation in which he was proclaimed dictator in perpetuity. That was too close to the idea of kingship, and the situation didn't last long. Caesar was quickly assassinated by a conspiracy in the Senate. His heir was a man named Octavian, and he eventually accumulated as much power as Julius Caesar and more. Some thought that he should be given the title king, but Octavian knew that would be dangerous, so he allowed the Roman Senate to vote him different titles. One became the title he is known by today, Augustus. The other was a military title that meant commander. In Latin, this word is imperator, and it gives us the English word for emperor. Augustus thus became the first of the Roman emperors, and the Roman Empire was born. Rome had been accumulating power through conquest ever since the time of the kings, and by the reign of Augustus Caesar it had become the dominant power in Europe, in the Middle East, and in North Africa. The Romans were in political control of the Holy Land at the time Jesus was born. It was they who had appointed Herod the Great as king of the Jews, and it was Augustus Caesar who called for the enrollment that brought Joseph and Mary to Bethlehem. The impact of the Romans on the gospel story is thus apparent right from the beginning. Their impact was still present at the time of Jesus' adult ministry, when other members of the Herod family had been appointed to rule parts of his kingdom, and when the Roman governor of Judea, Pontius Pilate, agreed to have Jesus crucified. It's ironic that at the time of the Passion, the crowds cried, "We have no king but Caesar." The Roman ruler of the day was Augustus's successor, Tiberius, and he didn't technically have the title king. The Romans were too proud of the fact they'd kicked out their kings for that, but the emperors were functioning as kings and everyone knew it. The power of the emperors continued to have an impact on the early church. Just a few decades later, it was the Emperor Nero who put St. Peter and St. Paul to death at Rome. Later emperors launched the persecutions that martyred so many early Christians and paradoxically caused the church to grow, to the point that eventually the empire itself became Christian. The Roman Empire was something that the first Christians had to deal with constantly. It loomed over their lives, and it tried to destroy them and their faith. It will help us all understand and appreciate our faith better if we know something about the Roman Empire and the impact it had on the Bible and the early church. Persecution by the Roman authorities is one of the big things that the book of Revelation is about. If you'd like to learn more about that, I'd like to invite you to join my Secret Information Club at www.secretinfoclub.com. It's a free service that I operate by email. I send out information on a variety of fascinating topics, and in fact, the first thing you'll get when you join is an interview I did with Pope Benedict about the book of Revelation itself. What I did was I composed questions about the book of Revelation and then took the answers from Pope Benedict's writings. He has a lot of interesting things to say about the book of Revelation, and if you'd like to find out what they are, just sign up at secretinfoclub.com. Thank you.